They discovered shocking secrets about Iran's final destiny in the Bible. Few knew what truly happened that night, hidden in the shadows of ancient prophecies. In a land steeped in turmoil, where echoes of past conflicts swirl like dust in the wind, a whisper passed through the darkness. It was the night when the sun seemed to falter, when the very skies trembled. Historians often turn their eyes to the great civilizations of Iran, but they miss the heart of the matter, the scriptural clues that hint at an unknown fate. Deep in the folds of sacred texts, amidst the tales of kings and prophets, lay secrets that could unravel everything. Persia, once a bastion of power, now suspended in uncertain futures. The land of Cyrus and Darius was not merely marked by history, but cradled profound revelations. Would this land, so often a crossroads for kingdoms, face an ending shrouded in darkness? The implications echoed far beyond its borders. The evening air thickened as airwaves crackled with tension. What were the signs that pointed to such drastic conclusions? An omen here, a prophecy there. It was said that Daniel, the great seer, had visions strange, confusing obsessions with beasts and kings. Could those vivid dreams illuminate the clouds of the current day? What was the connection that others had yet to discern? As tales unfolded from mouth to ear, hearts raced with possibilities. Each revelation built urgency, a crisis loomed, a reckoning awaited. Sinister shadows danced in the corners of minds, provoking fears of what could be. Could there be a truth concealed, one that heaven itself pushed forth, begging humanity to notice? Something felt wrong, hope fluttered like a candle in the wind, fighting against eventual darkness. As secrets flickered, the unanswered question lingered. Could these ancient writings predict a cataclysm for Iran, culminating in an inevitable end? The world watched with bated breath, waiting for the light to pierce through the night. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the moon hung low in the sky, casting a silvery veil over the land, the people of Persia stirred in their homes, drawn by the unsettling events that lingered in the air. Whispers traveled like shadows between neighbors, feeding their curiosity and fears. They were drawn not only to the unsettling nature of their present but haunted by the weight of history and scripture. Prophecies spoken long ago echoed in their minds, and the ancient words roamed freely, seeking hearts willing to listen. In a corner of the bustling marketplace, a humble scribe named Ezra, known for his keen insight into the scriptures, found himself surrounded by a gathering of townspeople. They sought to understand the turmoil thrust upon them and the ominous signs they felt were unfolding. Have you seen the star, the one blazing a fiery path across the night? An elderly woman implored, her hands trembling as she clutched her shawl. Could it signal something? Ezra searched within, his heart heavy with the unanswered questions. The scriptures tell of signs in the heavens, he replied thoughtfully, but we must discern their meaning. In the book of Daniel, the visions speak not just of kingdoms rising and falling but also of divine intervention. With each word, the crowd seemed to lean closer, their faces illuminated not just by reflection but by a shared collective anxiety. What must we do? Another voice piped up, concern lacing the tone. The unease in the marketplace grew palpable as tales from Daniel's visions began to swirl. Beasts representing nations, a ram and a goat wrestling for dominance. Was it merely history or a present-day warning? They spoke of the conflict between the Medes and the Persians, of a downfall that seemed inevitable. Stories of past kings losing their thrones filled their minds, invoking a deep-seated fear. And yet, in the depth of despair, Ezra found flickers of hope interwoven through the prophecies. Even amidst ruin, we are called to humility and repentance, he urged the crowd, raising his voice above the din. Perhaps the answer lies not in succumbing to darkness, but in seeking light. As the evening deepened, each listener wrestled with their thoughts. Would their land suffer a fate as foretold, or could they still sway the course of destiny? In the hearts of many burned a desperate flame, the desire for understanding, to grasp the threads of their future, yet, as they departed the marketplace, a stillness descended, heavier than prior. What if the truth was more complex than they dared acknowledge? The scriptures promised redemption, but would it come at a cost none of them were ready to pay? And if it did not, what then? Ezra's mind wandered to the dreams of a future written in the stars, leading them toward either salvation or destruction. As dawn approached, a new fear arose. What if they had overlooked an essential part of the prophecy? Perhaps the keys to their fate were not merely in the unfolding events, but in the very nature of their hearts and actions. Could it be that the power to alter their destiny lay not just in prophecy's hands but in their own? As they faced the dawn of an uncertain day, one question lingered: how do we truly reconcile our past with the future we wish to create? As the sun began its slow ascent, casting soft hues of orange and gold across the horizon, the people of Persia stirred anew from their troubled dreams. Gripped by the previous night's revelations, they awoke not only to a new day but with a renewed sense of urgency. Life in the marketplace resumed, yet the atmosphere was laced with an unmistakable tension, a weighty anticipation of what was yet to unfold. Ezra, having pondered the scriptures much of the night, gathered a small group near the well to share thoughts that had crossed his mind. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice steady but low, "what if the signs we see are not merely reflections of fate but echoes of our choice? The weight of prophecy does not rest solely on divine decree but may also rest upon our collective will." Among the circle, a young man named Darius, eager and open-eyed, challenged Ezra's assertion. "But what of the visions, the beasts and their dominions? Are they not preordained?" The crowd around him murmured, expressions a mixture of confusion and curiosity. Ezra nodded. "Yes, the visions indeed lay before us as mighty portents. Yet, consider that even in those scriptural tales, moments of intervention arise from human hearts. Daniel himself prays for mercy. Jonah hesitates, sparking a chain of events that leads to the repentance of Nineveh. I believe we are in a similar moment now." As they spoke, a soft breeze rustled through the leaves nearby. An elderly man advanced towards them, his thin frame bent but resolute. "But Ezra, how do we act upon these prophecies? There are those who live with pride and selfishness, blind to the warning signs. How can we remain righteous when surrounded by such darkness?" His wrinkled face bore the wisdom of years, yet his eyes held a glimmer of hope. "Walk humbly," Ezra advised, instinctively raising a finger, as if guiding them toward an unseen path. "Seek compassion for one another." In the Daniel prophecies, there are admonitions of humility before God. Let us not underestimate the power of unified prayer and repentance. They can be the light in the darkest of times. The crowd nodded, minds working to envisage a reality where hope could flourish. Yet, an underlying doubt persisted. What if, after all their efforts, the prophecies held true and peril descended upon them? Could their hearts truly alter a path so deeply entrenched in prophecy? As the sun climbed higher, spreading warmth, joy, and encouragement into the square, whispers about the evening's earlier discussions mingled with the sounds of daily life. Merchants exchanged goods, children played, and conversations sparked around the well. Still, beneath the pleasant facade, a tension lingered, every smile potentially masking a deeper apprehension, every laugh could conceal a fear of coming calamity. Ezra contemplated this dichotomy, wondering how many felt as he did, caught between belief and anxiety. Could faith truly incite change when darkness loomed? Was it possible that amid uncertainty, the spark of collective strength would ignite their willingness to examine their hearts and seek transformation? Gathering the remnants of courage among the townsfolk, Ezra posed another question, resonant with the air of mystery that surrounded them. If our destinies are intertwined, shaped by our hearts and choices, what direction shall we choose when the paths ahead seem shrouded in prophecy? The question hung in the air, leaving each person reflecting on their place in the potentially unfolding story. As the day pressed on, the sun charted its relentless course across the azure sky, but the atmosphere in the marketplace remained thick with unspoken thoughts. Shadows lengthened as Ezra, recognizing the growing need for guidance, decided to draw a larger gathering. "Let us seek knowledge together," he proclaimed, rising early in the afternoon, when the sun bathed the market in an embrace of warmth that belied the internal struggles of the people. The scrolls of our fathers contain not only stories of triumph and trials, but also lessons of profound significance. If we delve into their depths, perhaps we can better understand our own moment. The crowd began to assemble, drawn by the familiar tug of hope that had begun to sprout amidst their confusion. Old and young, men and women wandered toward him, some still grasping their market wares, others clutching their children's hands as they ventured into this collective search for understanding. "Gather close," Ezra urged, motioning them to lean in. What does the scroll of Isaiah teach us? He speaks of a remnant, a small yet faithful group who turns back to God, drawing favor even amid trials. The imagery is vivid. The vine pruned yet alive in the gardener's care. Darius, emboldened by the earlier discussion, stepped forward. But Ezra, is it not easier to despair? We stand at the precipice of uncertainty, with threats looming over our heads like dark clouds. Can mere words shield us from the storm? Ezra nodded solemnly, acknowledging the weight of Darius' question. Yes, despair can creep in, like a thief in the night. But consider Jeremiah's cry. Even in exile, he spoke of hope, a promise of restoration, a future. Our hearts must remain tethered to hope, so it can lift us when we feel we cannot rise. As his words hung in the air, a gust of wind swept through the square, causing murmured conversations to fade momentarily. The crowd fell quiet, and for a heartbeat, they wondered whether such winds were a signa bend in the current of fate. An elderly widow stepped forward, her voice wavering but resolute. Ezra, you speak of hope as a guide, but what if the hope we seek bears a cost? Are we prepared to bear that burden? There are many among us who seek comfort in familiarity, afraid to embrace the call for change. Ezra's gaze met hers, reflecting an understanding of her trepidation. The call to transformation often comes with sacrifice. Yet consider the journey of the Israelites. Their freedom demanded hardships, learning humility whilst wandering through desolation. What they found in anguish was resilience and a deeper bond with their Creator. Intrigued murmurs spread through the crowd, hearts dancing between fear and possibility. Yet, an unuttered question lingered in the air: what remains to be discovered on this path, and how many hearts would heed the call? Just then, an unexpected voice broke through the gathering, a young girl standing at the edge of the crowd. Her eyes sparkled with innocence, yet they held a clarity that seemed untouched by cynicism. But what if we receive the prophecy as a chance, not a curse? Could it lead us closer to each other? The crowd turned their attention to her, struck by the candor of her innocence. Ezra contemplated her words, overwhelmed by a sense of renewal. Perhaps the heart of the matter echoed through the wisdom of the young, the promise of unity, the potential of shared faith. Remarkable, he replied softly, to consider prophecy as an opportunity to grasp our destinies. Yet, as we navigate this journey, we must ask ourselves, what can transform our hearts to embrace such awakening, and how shall we support one another against the shadows yet to come? As the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet, the question lingered like a soft echo, inviting their spirits to search within and binding them together in a quest not merely for knowledge but for the hope that ignites the soul. As twilight descended, a blanket of stars began to twinkle above, each one a witness to the turmoil and resolve blooming within the hearts of the gathered. The marketplace, now filled with shadows, seemed to pulse with an electric anticipation, as though something profound hung in the air, waiting to be unveiled. Ezra, sensing the moment was ripe, spoke again, his voice steady but filled with a sense of urgency. Tonight, we stand on the threshold of revelation. There is a passage in the book of Daniel that speaks of mysteries yet to unfold, secrets locked within the annals of time, waiting for a people willing to seek their truth. What if the very designs of destiny are woven through our choices, beckoning us to engage with the divine? Darius, still grappling with his earlier doubts, raised a hand, trying to ground the conversation. Ezra, aren't we pressing against the boundaries of understanding? The visions of Daniel were bestowed upon him for a reason, and to interpret them can be both a gift and a burden. What if we tread too far, seeking answers that are not meant for us? The crowd was silent for a moment, the weight of Darius' concern echoing in the stillness. Yet, in that pause, the young girl's voice rang clear once more, as if her innocence shielded her from the fear that enveloped the others. But isn't it the hunger to know that draws us closer to God? If we shun what we fear, how shall we ever grasp what brings us life? Ezra felt the spark ignited within him. Indeed, dear child. The inquiries we make stir the heart to dive deeper into faith. What we fear often reveals what we must confront. Perhaps Daniel's revelations about nations, alliances, and destinies hold echoes of our current darkness. Could it be that we possess the wisdom not only to understand these prophecies but also to begin to illuminate a path forward? An elder man stepped out from the crowd, leaning heavily on his cane. His voice shook as he spoke. Ezra, we must not forget the grave warnings that come with such knowledge. What if understanding these secrets reveals not just a future for nations but points to impending trials for the fabric of our communal lives? Can we bear the weight of such foresight? The question hung heavy in the air, a poignant reminder of the cost that knowledge often exacts. Ezra's heart raced, sensing the depth of their plight. Yes, beloved friends, the foresight may burden us, but the choice to engage cannot be ignored. History shows us that those who turned their backs on the divine whispers often found themselves lost in despair. We must approach these truths not as a means of fearing the unknown but rather as tools for guidance, drawing us closer to our Creator. As the moon reached its apex, illuminating the marketplace in a silvery glow, Ezra felt the profound stirrings of reflection in his soul. As we ponder what lies ahead, let us not shy away from our duty to decipher the signs, for in our interpretation, there lies the potential for unity and transformation. Yet, what if our journey does not lead to the answers we crave? What if it is merely the questions we ask that will carve our way forward? The crowd turned inward, contemplating their own fears and hopes, grappling with the enormity of their quest for understanding amidst uncertainty. A soft breeze whispered through the square, carrying unspoken prayers and fears, circling above them like a gentle reminder of their shared humanity. And just like that, the question lingered once more: are we truly ready to confront the truths of destiny, and what secret wisdom do we carry within, waiting to be revealed in this great tapestry of existence? As the gathering lingered under the celestial vault, the moonlight cast ethereal shadows that danced around the cobblestones of the marketplace, and the murmurs of contemplation lightened the air. Ezra, captivated by the shifting thoughts of the people, felt an unseen force urging him forward, an ancient urge to delve deeper into the mysteries that lay ahead. His eyes caught a glimpse of a flickering lantern nearby, illuminating the face of a stranger who had approached the periphery of the crowd. The man was rugged, his garments worn from travel, but there was a spark of fervor in his gaze, as if he bore news that rippled with the pulse of prophecy. Ezra, the stranger called, taking steady steps toward him, I have journeyed far to find you. I come not only with questions, but with a warning, one that resonates with the very truths you seek to uncover. Ezra felt a stir of curiosity and caution. He motioned for silence, and the crowd turned, their focus shifting to the newcomer. Speak, wanderer. What truth do you carry that loops the strands of our fate with the threads of eternity? The man cleared his throat, his voice rich yet somber. I have crossed the lands of Persia. The heart of community robbed by discord and despair awaits beyond the walls of my home. I overheard whispers in the marketplace of Susa, murmurs of a reckoning that looms closer with every passing day. They speak of a prophecy the very ones Daniel foresaw. A betrayal that could unfold between kings and a nation caught in the crossfire. Ezra's heart quickened. And what of us? How do these revelations connect to our humble gathering here? The wanderer stepped closer, his eyes narrowing as if peering into the depths of their souls. Daniel's visions concerning kingdoms were not mere signs confined to antiquity, they rippled through time, bearing significance to each generation. The fulfillment of these prophecies rests not solely with those upon thrones but with every man, every woman, every child who grapples with the choices set before them. We cannot divorce our present from their echoes. Darius, emboldened and feeling the gravity of their dialogue, interjected. Then what do we do? If the threads of our fate are intertwined with those of nations far away, how can we remain steadfast? The wanderer's voice became a prayer, a gentle, yet firm supplication. We must act with both reverence and audacity. It is our responsibility to seek understanding in our current unrest, to pray for our people and cultivate peace among ourselves. The very secrets that create fear can also weave threads of hope if we choose to let them guide our hearts toward unity. That a chorus of whispers arose among the crowd, each soul wrestling with the implications of the wanderer's words. What did it mean to bear the weight of destiny, knowing that their actions rippled beyond their immediate grasp? Ezra, feeling a swell of compassion and resolution, continued to reflect on the wanderer's revelations. Our lives are not merely isolated passages, they form the fabric of humanity's story. If we shun the truth, we may unwittingly forge our paths toward peril. We must gather our strengths, navigate our actions thoughtfully, and remain vigilant in our prayers. As the gathering began to murmur their thoughts, a fire flickered in the heart of the crowd, a flame of determination that kindled their spirits against the shadow of fear. Yet, even amid their rise, a deeper question lingered in the air, palpable and unsettling. How do we balance understanding the prophecies that shape us with the courage to embrace our part in the ongoing narrative of history? As the fire's warmth enveloped the gathering, the air thickened with a profound awareness among the people. Ezra's heart swelled with the realization that this moment was not merely about fear or obligation, but about embracing the power of connection, of community, and of faith. Yet, as the wanderer stood among them, the flickering shadows hinted at uncertainties still to be faced. Tell us, traveler, Darius spoke again, his voice a steady beacon amid the quieting murmurs. What should we expect in the days to come? How will we know the true nature of the betrayal you spoke of? The wanderer's gaze fell to the cobblestones beneath their feet, the moonlight casting ghostly shapes reminiscent of the past. We know much about what has come before us, these stories of old, the kings who rose and fell. But betrayal, his voice lowered, is subtle, hidden in the whispers that pass amongst us. It wears the guise of friendship, the familiarity of our brothers and sisters. The signs may be veiled, and recognition requires a discerning spirit. Ezra pondered the implications. Could they determine the loyalties present even in their own midst? Was it possible that the vendetta anticipated in grand prophecies played out in minor, everyday betrayals amongst neighbors? As if sensing the turmoil bubbling within Ezra's heart, the wanderer continued, remember this, history is often shaped not just by great leaders but by the choices of ordinary people. Each decision reflects our intent. Are we marching toward unity or division? This dilemma is where your discernment must lie. Suddenly, the air shifted, growing heavier as if the weight of prophecy settled upon them. Questions flooded Ezra's mind, igniting an insatiable curiosity. What would we do if it came to pass? Would we confront betrayal with vengeance, or would we seek reconciliation despite the pain? Is there not a thin line between justice and mercy? The crowd held its breath, caught in the tangles of their thoughts. They were not just spectators but actors upon the stage of fate, and the stakes felt infinitely high. As they turned their gazes from the wanderer back to each other, an unspoken bond formed, a collective yearning to guide their hearts back to faith. Yet, within this fiery determination, a staggering reality loomed. If betrayal were indeed entwined with their destinies, what safeguards could they put in place to ensure unity among themselves? As they began to contemplate their actions, the wanderer shared a deeper secret, raised quietly above the din. In the teachings of the ancients, there are whispers about a place. He paused, allowing the suspense to build. A sanctuary built upon the foundations of trust, a haven for those who are weary. Only by seeking out such a place will you find strength against the storm that darkens your skies. What do we need to do to find this sanctuary? A voice called out, full of fervor, search within your hearts. The wanderer replied, his voice a soothing balm. Kindle the flames of love among you. It is in understanding one another, in reaching out to the most fragile among your kin, that you will begin to unveil the sanctuary of peace. Ezra, overcome with reflection, sensed the challenge that lay within these instructions. Is love truly the answer when the world outside rages? And with this reflective question lingering in the air, they contemplated the inner sanctuary that was to be found, the love, the grace, the hope that could endure even against the tides of betrayal. Would they rise to the occasion, or would the currents of fate drive them apart? As the night deepened, the flickering fire began to wane, casting elongated shadows that danced against the ancient stones of the plaza. The air became crisp, filled with a scent of earth and the weight of unresolved issues that hung heavily around the gathered people. Ezra felt this weight on his shoulders, an unsettling mixture of hope and dread. "Gather closer," the wanderer urged, his voice laced with a reverence that drew the crowd into an intimate circle. "You have heard the echoes of betrayal and the promise of unity, but you must also understand the power of choice that lies before you." Ezra's heart raced. Choice, the very essence of their humanity, the capacity that could tilt the balance of their world toward light or shadow. He realized this moment was pivotal, a crossroads born from ancient choices that had echoed through history. The wanderer continued, "In every generation, the challenge remains the same. Will you be the architects of your destiny or mere observers in the unfolding saga?" One elder, worn yet wise, lifted his gaze toward the stars shimmering above. "What paths must we walk to be the architects? How can we ensure our choices align with hope rather than despair?" A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, each individual grappling with the gravity of their potential. The wanderer nodded, acknowledging the elder's wisdom. "To be architects, you must cultivate discernment. But this does not come from isolation, it flourishes in communion, in the sharing of burdens, joys, and fears." Ezra's thoughts spiraled into memories of past gatherings, the laughter, the shared stories around another fire, the feeling of being whole in community. Would those moments be enough to build the strong foundations the wanderer spoke of? It was measured not just by their unity in good times, but also in how they weathered the storms of doubt and division. "What of those who do not wish to walk with us?" a voice challenged from the back, filled with concern. "What about those who cling to discord? Let their hearts be your reflection," the wanderer replied gently. "Even among those who betray your trust, there lies a path for understanding. It is your light that can guide them back, or at the very least, illuminate your own way forward." This response echoed within Ezra as he wrestled with his own thoughts. Was he prepared to reach out to that which lingered in the shadows of animosity? The wanderer's words reminded him of the frailty of human bonds, rooted deeply within each individual's experience. With this in mind, he questioned how they could strengthen their ties while remaining vigilant against the same forces that threatened to divide them. As if sensing the stirrings of doubt, the wanderer raised a hand to the heavens, a gesture full of intent. "Do not forget your lineage. Look back to your forebears who faced trials far graver than those you encounter today. In their faithful persistence, you find the blueprints for your own journey." Ezra silently contemplated the stories of his ancestry, their struggles, their victories, and the way faith wove through their lives like threads of gold through fabric. "But history is also burdened with failure," he whispered, echoing a haunting truth that reverberated within the silent crowd. "Indeed," the wanderer affirmed, letting the moment linger. "But failure, like betrayal, is often a precursor to redemption. It's a lesson in resilience and humility." The weight of this knowledge pressed upon Ezra. "So we must not fear our vulnerabilities?" he ventured, searching for clarity in the fog. "Correct," the wanderer said with conviction. "Embrace them, for in vulnerability lies the strength of true connection. It can unlock the sanctuary built on trust that I spoke of." Ezra looked around at his companions, seeing the reflection of unspoken fears mirrored in their eyes. Would they be brave enough to confront their vulnerabilities together? And what if true unity demanded the unsettling act of allowing their deepest scars to shine as beacons of hope, rather than devices of shame? As the fire flickered once more, stars witnessing their doubt, a profound question loomed over them. In the quest for unity amidst faith's shadows, could they forge bonds strong enough to withhold the storms of betrayal yet to come? The silence that enveloped the plaza was heavy, and the flickering flames became a beacon for contemplation. Ezra shivered as a cool breeze swept through, carrying with it whispers of stories yet untold. The wanderer's presence felt more significant than ever, a living testament to the intertwining of past and present. "What if our burdens are too great?" a woman's voice cracked through the haze of uncertainty. She stood near the edge of the circle, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her garment. "What if the weight of our choices drives us further apart instead of uniting us?" The wanderer turned to her, his eyes swimming with understanding. "Ah, dear one, to feel the weight of choice is to be alive. Doubt can be a dark cloud, but it can also guide you to the clearest of skies. Trust that the journey, even with its challenges, is a testament to your courage." Ezra felt a flicker of hope ignite within him at the wanderer's words. He leaned close to the fire, breaking through his hesitation. But how do we transform our uncertainties into a source of strength? He asked, desperate for clarity in the murky depths of his spirit. By seeking, the wanderer responded, a gentle smile gracing his lips. Seek the fullness of your truths, both joyous and painful. In that seeking lies the thread to weave understanding. Your struggles are not yours alone, they resonate through the hearts of many. A low murmur of agreement swirled among the gathered, the connection palpable as they acknowledged their shared fears and aspirations. Yet, an undercurrent of dread remained, whispering reminders of betrayal lurking in shadows they could not ignore. Ezra's gaze drifted beyond the firelight, toward the darkness beyond where the trees whispered secrets only they could fathom. And if those truths lead us to reveal what we would rather hide? He felt his heart race as he spoke, echoing the thoughts of many, perhaps even his own. The wanderer nodded. That is the crux of it, isn't it? Borders between hope and despair, light and shadow, are often blurred. What lies beneath the surface of your fears could foster true healing. He gestured towards the stars, just as the heavens are not meant to be hidden behind clouds of fear, neither are your truths meant to be buried. Bring them into the light. Ezra thought of the countless souls struggling beneath the weight of their secrets. Would disclosing their truths serve to unify their hearts? Or would it expose vulnerabilities that could drive deeper wedges between them? Perhaps sharing our stories could act as a bridge. An elder's voice interjected, steady and warm. We can heal and learn from the narratives of pain, weaving together stories of loss and redemption to create a tapestry of understanding. The wanderer locked eyes with the elder, his expression warm. Indeed, your stories hold beauty and power. They can illuminate paths unknown, show how even the deepest rifts can yield the greatest discoveries. As the moon hung high above, casting its silver glow over the plaza, Ezra felt the pressing weight of the moment settle upon his shoulders. Could the act of unveiling their secrets lead them toward a unity fortified by authenticity? Were they brave enough to share their intertwined legacies of triumph and defeat? The warmth of the fire flickered low, creating shadows that danced like spirits on the plaza's stones, reminding him of the delicate balance between fear and courage. With each beat of his heart, he wondered if they could embrace the challenge of revealing their scars. In facing the shadow of betrayal that awaited, could they gather the fragments of their lives and forge a path of unity unmistakably woven from their deepest truths? Or would the undeniable bond of their stories become the very chains that kept them shackled in mistrust? As night deepened, the cool breeze carried the weight of anticipation, wrapping itself around the gathered souls like a cloak of hope. Ezra felt the atmosphere crackle with the tension of unspoken truths, and he stepped closer to the flickering flame, emboldened by the passion of those who stood beside him. The stories we carry are not just ours, he declared, his voice resonant and clear, calling forth the spirits around him. They are legacies, whispering through generations, connecting us to the earth and sky. When we unveil our burdens, we not only reclaim our narratives, but we honor the sacred threads that have shaped us, binding our hearts into one tapestry. The wanderer nodded, a smile of encouragement playing at his lips. Yes, Ezra. Remember that vulnerability is a fortress, where countless bonds may be forged. What do you fear most? Is it not the silence that breeds isolation? When you share your fears, you invite light to penetrate the shadows that seek to divide. Ezra took a deep breath, his heart racing as he considered the uncharted territory their journey was revealing. I fear the cost, he admitted, glancing at those gathered. What if, in sharing our truths, we unravel something sacred, or worse, what if we encounter betrayal within our ranks? Can we hold the fragile faith we've nurtured in our hearts when faced with the trials of the unknown? The wanderer stepped forward, his presence a steady anchor amid the rising tide of emotion. The path of faith is not without risk, dear friends. But surrendering to fear allows darkness to flourish. The heart that dares to beat against the storm can nurture the seed of Chanhei, a community transformed by understanding. Ezra felt the truth of the wanderer's words seep into his bones. Deep inside, a flicker of bravery ignited, illuminating the corners where doubt lingered. Then let us raise our voices. Let us speak of our burdens and cast aside the veil of secrecy that binds us. We may not glimpse the full horizon yet, but we owe it to ourselves and each other to lay bare the depths of our souls. With that proclamation, a ripple of determination surged through the crowd. One by one, they began to share not just words, but bits of their hearts, the battles fought, the shadows cast. A woman spoke of losing her child to illness and the emptiness that hung like a shroud over her days. A man shared tales of betrayal by a trusted confidant, revealing scars too deep to forget. Each story revealed not only despair but also resilience, as if their shared vulnerability gave rise to new strength, sparking inspiration in the hearts of others. As they bore witness to each other's struggles, they could feel the barriers between them thinning. Their fears, once heavy bricks, transformed into stepping stones, forging connections between each tale that summoned forth compassion and understanding. Darius, emboldened by the atmosphere of acceptance, volunteered his own story, leaving behind the weight of pretense that had served him too long. I feared the repercussions of speaking my truth, but I realize now that my silence permitted darkness to seep into my heart. Let me share my story, one marked by failure and redemption. With every word, he felt the shackles of isolation fall away. He spoke of his doubts and wrong paths, but woven through it all, he lifted the gentle promise of hope, a reminder that even in the depths of their trials, they had the inherent power to transform their lives, to encircle each other with love and grace. As more joined the chorus of confessions, the shadows receded, and an air of authenticity suffused the space. The fire crackled sharply, illuminating the faces of those present, a congregation reborn in the light of shared vulnerability. Moments stretched, where laughter mingled with tears, thoughts danced alive in the warm embrace of accompaniment. They found freedom not just in their stories but in the realization that the tapestry of their existence was tightly woven, anchored in the potential for redemption. Finally, as the last echoes of confession subsided, the wanderer took his place once more. In this unveiling, you have ignited the essence of your humanity. Together, you have broken the chains of skepticism and reached for eternity. You are no longer mere witnesses to prophecy but the architects of something extraordinary, a sanctuary woven in love, forged through trust. Ezra felt the weight of transformation settle upon his heart, a sacred purpose taking root. The eyes of the gathered began to glisten with a fire that echoed the stars above, illuminating the uncharted paths ahead. Let us meet each challenge with humility, embrace the unexpected twists that destiny may hold, and cultivate this sanctuary we have begun to build. We must nurture this community with shared truth, gentleness, and courage. Let faith flow like water, quenching our shared thirst for understanding. As dawn began to blush on the horizon, the people whispered promises to each other, promises of support, kindness, and love. In that moment, the walls that had once separated them crumbled into the dust, rising like a phoenix from the ashes of despair, ushering in a bright new future illuminated by faith in action. And as the first light of day streamed into the plaza, the veil that obscured their destinies was lifted. The shadow of impending betrayal was no longer a harbinger of doom but a reminder of their shared journey, a purposeful march toward unity, a powerful revelation that darkness could be transformed into light, and love held the threads that could weave new beginnings into the fabric of the cosmos. In that sacred space, they lingered a little longer, bathed in the warmth of connection, knowing that together, they were living proof that true faith transforms the heart, can indeed command the storms of destiny, reaching deeper truths than any ancient script could foretell, enfolding them in the arms of hope. United in purpose, they would walk into their future, together, a light undeterred in the face of shadow, ever faithful as they stepped boldly into their own destinies.